Donald Trump's pre-inaugural ball brought together a host of influential names in music and business. But what caught the hip-hop community off guard were performances from Soulja Boy, Rick Ross, and, shockingly, Snoop Dogg. The same Snoop who was once one of Trump's loudest critics back in 2017.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you niggas gonna do it first? I'll be the one that performs for himself.
What does this sudden alignment say about their morals and integrity? Were the signs there all along, and we just missed them? From Soulja Boy's clout-chasing antics, to Rick Ross's workplace scandals, and Snoop Dogg's strategic pivots, these moments reveal a striking parallel to a political figure who knows how to command the spotlight: Donald Trump.
Mic Hustlin.
Soulja Boy, a name synonymous with viral hits and internet culture, has spent years building his empire. But it's been a foundation of controversy, legal messes, and blatant disregard for the people around him. The man who once proudly claimed to be the first rapper on the internet has turned his rise into a cautionary tale of how reckless behavior and shady business practices can leave a trail of destruction in its wake. First, we have the sexual assault allegations from 2021. A former assistant filed a lawsuit claiming Soulja assaulted and coerced her in violent ways. He denied everything, but what we don't hear is the deeper issue of how these kinds of accusations reflect a deeper disrespect for Black women. Instead of taking responsibility or even reflecting on the impact of his actions, Soulja continued with the same brash behavior that built his brand. Then, in 2023, he faced another lawsuit involving kidnapping and assault, with a $472,000 judgment levied against him. Where's the accountability? These are not just personal issues. They tarnish the image of Black men in the industry and add to the narrative of disrespecting Black women. And that's not all. In 2023, Soulja was also hit with a $235,900 lawsuit over yet another assault accusation. Despite these legal battles and allegations, Soulja Boy is still out here flexing on social media, acting as if nothing happened. His lack of accountability sends a dangerous message to his fans, particularly the younger generation in the hip-hop community, who look up to him as a leader. Instead of setting a positive example, Soulja has become an example of how untamed ego and unchecked behavior can be more harmful than helpful. Now, let's look at Donald Trump, a man whose actions have been a mirror of Soulja's in the world of politics and business.
Kamala Harris, that you've done a terrible job.
Just like Soulja, Trump has faced an endless string of legal issues, lawsuits, and allegations of misconduct. But somehow, he's always managed to avoid serious consequences. In fact, his brand is built on the very concept of escaping accountability. Take Trump University, for example, a complete scam that took advantage of people's dreams, promising success in real estate while taking their money. Despite the $40 million fraud lawsuit against him, he settled for $25 million without ever admitting guilt. His business empire is built on failed ventures like Trump Airlines and the Trump Taj Mahal, both of which went bankrupt, but Trump never faced real consequences. And we know his notorious sexual misconduct accusations, especially the Stormy Daniels affair and hush money deal, only add fuel to the fire. Yet he continues to maintain his image as a business genius, showing that he knows how to play the system and avoid the fallout. Trump's influence has been particularly harmful to the Black community, with his divisive rhetoric and policies targeting immigrants, Black Lives Matter activists, and even Black culture. And even in the wake of the January 6th Capitol attack, where Trump incited an insurrection, he faced no meaningful repercussions. He may have been impeached twice, but his base never wavered. And now he's once again president, showing the world that corruption and disregard for the law can be a winning formula in this country. What do Soulja Boy and Trump have in common? Both have profited off controversy, manipulated their followers, and built careers by embracing scandal instead of taking responsibility. they've managed to escape accountability time and time again. But the damage they've caused is undeniable. Soulja, by perpetuating a toxic image of Black masculinity that disrespects women and glorifies violence, and Trump, by amplifying racist, sexist, and anti-Black rhetoric, have both contributed to the degradation of Black communities and have used their platforms for personal gain at the expense of the very people who supported them. Soulja Boy's recklessness in hip-hop shows a disturbing pattern of exploiting and disrespecting the culture that helped make him famous. His actions feed into negative stereotypes about Black men in the entertainment industry, making it easier for those in power to disregard our voices. Trump, on the other hand, has used his platform to degrade Black progress, creating an environment of division and hate while exploiting the system for his own benefit. So, let's be clear, these aren't just minor slip-ups or isolated incidents. These are men who abuse their power, dodge consequences, and hurt their communities in the process. They've become symbols of how unchecked privilege and lack of accountability can be weaponized to further their own selfish agendas. The damage they've done goes beyond their own personal lives. It's reflected in the harm they've caused to Black culture, hip-hop, and the people who looked up to them. Instead of uplifting the culture and standing for something greater, Soulja Boy and Trump have used their fame to perpetuate cycles of destruction, showing that the real winners in their games are those who avoid accountability while exploiting others. Rick Ross, he's been called out more than once for some questionable moves. And when you think about it, why should we be shocked when this man steps up to perform at Donald Trump's pre-inaugural crypto ball? Nah, this ain't a coincidence. This is history repeating itself, with a twist. It's all part of the same narrative where money talks and authenticity takes a back seat. First off, let's talk about Ross's business decisions. You know, just like Trump, Ross has had some questionable business ventures. His Maybach music group, which he tried to build into this powerhouse, has seen artists like Meek Mill and Wale struggle to maintain relevance. But Ross, he kept pushing his own brand, right? Meanwhile, MMG's potential was left untapped, and those artist promises, yeah, they were just words in the wind. That's a failed business move if you ask me. He might have made money with his Wingstop investments, but when it comes to his music empire, let's just say the man didn't follow through. Sounds a lot like Trump's business empire, where deals got messy and only the ones with deep pockets survived. You see the pattern? Now let's take a trip down memory lane to 2013. Ross and his Reebok endorsement deal. Gone. Poof. Why? That lyric from his track UOENO, where he talks about slipping drugs into a woman's drink. That whole date rape reference got outraged women's groups rallying against him, and Reebok said, nah, we're good. Ross apologized, but the damage was done. And if we're being real, that's a blemish on his brand. But what does that remind you of? Donald Trump and his whole
grab him by the pussy, grab him by the pussy, grab him by the pussy
scandal. Both men, both making disrespectful, misogynistic comments, both losing big endorsements. So you tell me, how's Ross any different from Trump? It doesn't stop there, though. Ross was on some wild stuff in 2011, saying he only hires women he wants to sleep with.
You know, I never did it because I always thought like I would end up in the female rapper business up here. I'm so focused on my business.
Let that sink in. He's out here objectifying women in his business dealings, and folks just look the other way. He apologized, sure, but the damage to his reputation? That's deeper than just a simple fix. And this ain't a one-time thing. This is the kind of stuff that makes us question how deep Ross's ties go with toxic masculinity. Sounds a lot like Trump's relationship with women, right? Both these men have a pattern of pushing boundaries when it comes to disrespecting women, yet they still have diehard fans. The real kicker is, both of them somehow manage to keep getting paid for it. So where's the accountability? Where's the outrage? It's not about the actions anymore. It's about who they know, what they represent, and the game they're playing. Now let's talk about authenticity. Ross, like Trump, got called out for being fake. Remember when we found out Ross used to be a correctional officer? That's like the ultimate hip-hop betrayal for many.
Because when you say that wasn't me, it was a job, it get deeper, that was just a start.
Right.
So what are you referring about?
I'm referencing really anything I've ever done. Anything I've ever done. You know, from having jobs, from being at a car wash to pouring roof on the top to being a correction officer. That's small talk.
The guy built his whole persona on the boss image, like he was a kingpin, but that didn't match up with his past. It's the same energy with Trump. Dude's all about being a self-made billionaire, but his financial history, sketchy at best. The streets and the world see through these fake personas. But guess what? As long as they keep the money coming, people will swallow that narrative whole. So what does this say about the Black community, and more specifically hip-hop? Rick Ross, like Trump, is a product of the system. A system that values profits over principles, that lets you slide by if you play the right game. When Ross aligns himself with Trump, yeah, I said it, he's showing us exactly who he is. He's not out here for the people, for the culture. He's out here for self-preservation, and let's not forget, he's been doing this sellout dance for years. Rick Ross performing at Trump's event, it's no surprise. It's the same move he's been making, sacrificing credibility for cash. We've seen it before with his failed business deals, his disregard for the Black community's values, and his connection with a man who's known for running a divisive, misogynistic, and opportunistic brand of politics. So when people are sitting back, acting shocked that Rick Ross performed at Trump's pre-inaugural crypto ball, maybe they need to take a step back. This is the same Rick Ross who's been using the Black community for his personal gain for years. The same one who has no problem alienating women, no problem with being called out for hypocrisy. Snoop Dogg's career is a textbook example of how a once revered figure can sell out for personal gain, betraying the very communities that elevated him. His performance at Donald Trump's 2025 pre-inaugural crypto ball isn't just a surprise. It's a clear continuation of a pattern of actions that have consistently undermined the values of the Black and hip-hop communities. And if you're shocked by his latest move, you haven't been paying attention. Let's start with Snoop's business ventures. For years, Snoop has used his image as a cultural icon to push products that barely align with the values he once claimed to represent. Take his Leafs by Snoop cannabis line, for example. It's not about elevating Black-owned businesses or the culture. It's about capitalizing on a trend. His cannabis brand doesn't offer anything innovative, and the products are often overpriced, leaving his most loyal fans feeling exploited. Rather than using his influence to provide real opportunities for Black entrepreneurs in the marijuana space, Snoop is simply another rich celebrity jumping on a lucrative bandwagon, further distancing himself from the very struggles that Black people face in the industry. Then there's his infamous shift to Snoop Lion in 2012, when he decided to abandon hip-hop to pursue a reggae album. Was it an artistic evolution? Or was it just another attempt to stay relevant in a new market? His reggae phase was a flop, and it left fans who had grown up with Snoop feeling alienated and confused. It wasn't about musical growth, it was about the bag. He quickly returned to hip-hop when it was clear his new identity wasn't going to pay off. That's the problem with Snoop Dogg. He's always chasing the next wave, even if it means abandoning everything that made him iconic in the first place. And don't forget his purchase of Death Row Records in 2022. Now, on the surface, this seemed like a triumphant moment, Snoop reclaiming a piece of hip-hop history. But let's be real, Death Row was already in financial ruin. The label wasn't a gold mine, it was a sinking ship, and Snoop was more interested in owning a piece of nostalgia than in actually revitalizing the brand. This was just another cash grab, another way for Snoop to profit off the legacy of figures like Tupac Shakur, whose revolutionary ideals he has since conveniently distanced himself from. Speaking of Tupac, let's talk about the shift in Snoop's relationship with him. Tupac's death left a void in hip-hop, and Snoop, once close to him, has been accused of selling out his friend's legacy. Tupac stood for resistance, for challenging the system, for being unapologetically radical. Snoop? Well, he's become the epitome of mainstream corporate hip-hop. After Pac's death, Snoop increasingly distanced himself from the militant, revolutionary stance Tupac represented. he took a turn towards a more corporate-friendly image, aligning himself with figures like Donald Trump, a man whose policies and rhetoric have consistently been harmful to Black people. Now let's talk about Snoop's ties to Donald Trump, a relationship that has raised more than a few eyebrows. In 2017, Snoop took a stand against Trump in his Lavender music video, mocking him and the entire political establishment. It seemed like a bold move, one that aligned with the values many hip-hop heads had admired Snoop for. But fast forward to 2025, and there he is, performing at Trump's pre-inaugural Crypto Ball, an event hosted by crypto millionaires looking to further entrench their wealth and power. Snoop has sold out. His appearance at the Crypto Ball wasn't about politics. It was about the check. It was about staying relevant in the circles of power. It's no surprise, though. Snoop's entire career has been built on opportunism. And this time, he's aligning with the very people who have historically been antagonistic toward the Black community. This kind of behavior isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous. Snoop Dogg, once a figure who represented the struggles and resilience of the streets, is now a poster child for the kind of corporate exploitation that continues to harm Black communities. His moves send a message to the younger generation that it's okay to compromise your morals, to sell out, as long as there's a paycheck involved. This is not what hip-hop was built on. Hip-hop was about speaking truth to power, challenging the status quo, and uplifting communities. But Snoop's trajectory has shown that if the price is right, he's more than willing to sell out the very culture that made him. Snoop's constant flip-flopping, from gangster rap icon to corporate mogul, from a friend of Tupac to a buddy of Trump, has undermined the authenticity of hip-hop. And now, as he performs at a Trump event, it's clear that the culture has lost a voice that once had the power to challenge systems of oppression. Instead, we're left with a shell of the Snoop we once knew, a man more interested in pushing product and chasing business deals than in sticking to the principles that helped elevate him to the top. At the end of the day, Snoop's career is a cautionary tale, a reminder that loyalty to the community and staying true to the cause doesn't always line up with personal ambition. Snoop Dogg's participation in Trump's crypto ball is just the latest reminder that when it comes to money, fame, and power, some of our greatest icons have sold us out. And this isn't a one-time thing. It's part of a pattern that has had long-term consequences for both the Black and hip-hop communities. Snoop Dogg has shown us time and time again that when it comes down to it, his loyalty lies with his bank account, not with the culture that built him. And if you're still surprised by this, you might want to start paying closer attention to the patterns of betrayal unfolding in real time.
Why would you put your faith in rappers? Rick Ross is a former correctional officer that stole a drug dealer's name. Why would you put your faith in Rick Ross? And I know a lot of people love Snoop Dogg, but when have you ever known Snoop Dogg to turn down a check from anyone? And you know Soulja Boy needs the money. Look, if you go back to the 90s, in the early 2000s, when a lot of these rappers that are performing were relevant, Trump was all in their raps. He is who they aspire to be. A rich white man that can do and say whatever he wants, gets away with anything, and still fails upwards. He's their hero. He's their hero. He's essentially Rick Ross. He's Rick Ross as the president. He knows Noriega, the real Noriega, owes him $1 million favors. So I'm not surprised. I'm also not upset. Really don't care. Because in the end, these people have more in common with Trump than they do with you. They never cared about you. They just cared about you buying their records and making them rich.